My name is Shanique Yates, and I am a journalist for Aspire TV. First off, I have to say that you both did a phenomenal job. I got to go and view both productions mid-November, and I was blown away. Like, I'm a Disney kid. I was raised on Disney, so this is like a huge moment for me. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yay. So I do want to just hop right in. And let's actually start with you, Adrienne. I want to know, how does it feel to just, be a part of this return to Broadway after these crazy, like 2 years that we've been living in with the pandemic, racial uprisings, just all the things in the world.
It's been overall a really incredible experience. I can only speak for myself, but just talking to my colleagues, I can tell that we all came back a little changed and a little different. And it's all been positive changes. And I think at times where people would have been silent about how they were feeling about something, that they're expressing themselves. And I think that that's just going to branch us off into uncharted territory, but in a good way. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 10 years from now, what it looks like for people to really say what's on their heart, and to foster change. And just from, I'm a Disney kid too. Like, I grew up on Disney as well. So just being a part of this historical moment has been so thrilling too.
Yeah, and speaking of a historical moment, one of the key things that I saw was just representation, right? More people who looked like us, like on the stage, especially with your character, Michael. Listen, he made Aladdin, okay? And so I want to know
Oh,
from
thank you. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
and so I want to know from you, how do you want, other like young Black and brown kids to see themselves reflected through your character when they're watching you on the stage?
Oh gosh, wow. Well, first of all, thank you for your lovely words. That's so kind. I too am a Disney kid. So I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and
Oh,
so
wow.
literally was like in my backyard, which is crazy. And so it's a full circle moment. So I'm with you. We're three Disney kids here on this situation together, which is the best. I I think part of the sort of piggybacking off of what Adrienne's saying in terms of like coming back into this now and what this sort of new chapter after being off for so long for me was actually quite a pretty incredibly inspiring revelation to know that I was going to get to come back in an iconic role as in a lead, a big old Broadway musical, a man of color, doing that with this material. And that for me was something that little Michael James Scott back growing up, I think I would have always dreamt for that. But to be able to be living that right now is so beautiful and so inspiring on so many levels, because I tell you, there were very, very few faces like mine that I felt where just the possibility of it is possible that I did not see growing up. And so to be able to be a face amongst many right now, which is just the most incredible thing, it's just it means so much. And whenever I get letters, or whenever I get DMs, or whenever I get, see little um, young artists at the stage door, all of those things, they say that to me. They say, it's amazing to see you. We get to see, I see myself, but people see me on a bus around New York City. They see this chocolate face right there on a bus. And that is, I just never even dreamt of that. And so it's just an incredible thing to sort of, be walking on the street, and maybe a young artist or a young person who, doesn't know that what is possible. And they see, oh my gosh, that's that guy who plays the genie, and he's of color. Oh my gosh, it is possible. So I am the living proof that it is possible.
Yes, that is so true. And, just it's just so heartwarming to be able to just see that and see, like, at the show that I went to, seeing like hearing beside me like kids' reactions. I was like, oh my gosh, this warms my heart. And so I have another question for you, Adrienne, just around Nala, right? Because Nala has this warrior spirit. Basically, like El Steven mentioned in my last interview, we've all been Nala in these past 2 years, just trying to
Oh, that's good.
warrior spirit. So I kind of want to know from you as well, like, what do you hope those young people, specifically young people who look like us, what do you hope they gain from your character and seeing Nala, on the stage?
I want them to know that they're capable of anything, that there are no limits, and the things that they can imagine are possible. Nala goes through a lot, and she still perseveres and decides to make a choice that has never been made before. And that leads her to find Simba. And I think that in communities and environments and family structures that are so used to the status quo, and this is how it's done, and this is what we do, we have to branch out and discover what works for us personally. Like, for example, just in my real life, no one in my family was natural. No one had natural hair, right? I grew up from a town of you get your relaxer, check your kitchens in the back, your edges. Oh my God, your roots are showing, like all of that. And so when I went to Spelman and I made the decision to go natural my sophomore year, my family gave me strife. And I don't just mean my immediate family, like my extended family. They're like, what are you doing? Your hair is unkept. What are you doing? And now everyone in my family is natural. And so you just have to be brave. And so I hope that when youth and anybody, any age, come to see The Lion King and they feel inspired in any way, I hope that they also feel encouraged to live the life that they want to live.
Yeah, and kudos to you for breaking those generational curses. Like, listen, I understand it. So I think that that's super cool, and we could sit here and chat all day. But my last question for both of you is just that here at Aspire TV, we live by the phrase "see yourself here." Starting with you, Michael, can you tell me the first time you saw yourself represented in theater or what have you, and made you go, you know what, when I grow up, that's what I'm gonna do?
Well, I grew up loving the theater. I was a show kid. I was actually a child actor. And so it's interesting because for me, I I think like we kind of had to make our own path growing up. And for me, it actually took um I call them like my angels, but I had teachers who really saw something in me, and people who were like, we just want to help. And it's crazy because I didn't see a lot of me, and so it was kind of like, oh, is that a way? And with my mom and my parents, they were just like the ultimate sort of sacrifice, and they were like, okay, yes. They just said yes. Like, and I always say to parents when they ask about advice, I'm like, just say yes. Um, and because of that, I feel like we kind of made our own path. And it wasn't until I was in, oh gosh, probably. Well, I will say I will say Mannequin. Do you remember the movie Mannequin and the character of Hollywood?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I like there was it was kind of an incredible thing to see this like man, this like out man of color on the screen and like in all of his glory, just like doing this thing. And I remember being like, what's that? Like, wow, 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 wow. And it was such a cool thing to see, right? But it wasn't really for me until like high school where I was listening to like I saw Rent, and then I heard a recording of Songs for New World, and I remember hearing about an actor named Billy Porter, and the voice, like the sound of what that was, and I remember being like, that sounds like what I do with like, and that for me was such an incredible revelation in terms of seeing myself. There's also there's a fun story that there's a wonderful Black actor who is known in our community. His name is Norm Lewis, and we actually grew up at the same church. But Norm is older than me. I like to tell him that, he gets very upset about it. But I let him know he's older than me. I wasn't there during this time. But here's the thing: everyone at the church would say, "Oh my gosh, Norman, Norman, Norman." No one said Norm Lewis. I was a theater geek. I knew who Norm Lewis was. He was like one of not many Black musical theater Broadway actors. And we came from the same church. And I remember once I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It was mind blowing for me. So it was really that. And, seeing Ben Vereen, like those old school, that kind of a thing for me is what inspired me to be able to sort of like say, okay, there is a place, and not be basically, whenever I was told no, and I say this, I think I was on Adrienne's podcast, and we actually talked about this, where I was like, whenever I'm told no, it means like maybe, like it's possible, like, okay, I'm told no, but like, really no, So that's kind of how I have walked through this life, and seeing, what I thought was possible.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. And now you're being that person for so many children now. Like, I think that is so cool. And so I have to get you guys to the next interview. So really quickly, Adrienne, how about you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
For me, it had such a different path because I came from a classical background. So for me, I had that same moment of seeing myself. And it's when I saw a PBS production, or not production, but a recording of the Spelman College, Morehouse College Christmas Carol concert that they do annually. Ooh. I was 10 years old, and I was so struck by seeing this choir of Black people singing classically. And I thought, wait, they, like that same moment Michael just had, like they sound like what I do. And I didn't have that around me. I just felt like, oh, I'm singing like a white girl. But it wasn't that. I was using a different part of my voice, and I just didn't have representation of what that looked like. And so for me, that's why I wanted to sing. When I saw that, I knew not only could I sing, but there was a place for me somewhere.
Yes.
And that's why she can sustain that voice playing Nala 8 shows a week, because she has the training and that classical training too. So just saying.
Yes, well, thank you all so much. And thank you for being that representation for so many people now. I hope you guys have a great holiday.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.